Hi and Assalamualaikum. So my name is Farah Nadir of the Jeffrey. As for today, me and Natasha will be presenting on the topic of economic indicators of Bhutan, which consists of GDP, unemployment rate, population, and economic growth. So Bhutan is a small country located between China and India in the eastern Himalayas. Even though it is a small country, but Bhutan is well known for its unique development philosophy called Gross National Happiness or GNH. Unlike many countries that focus only on economic growth, Bhutan emphasizes the happiness and well-being of its people. The concept of GNH focuses on environmental protection, preservation of culture, sustainable development, and good governance. Over the years, Bhutan's economy has changed significantly. In the past, the country mainly depended on the traditional agriculture, where most people work as farmers. However, Bhutan has gradually transformed into a more modern economy through trade, infrastructure development, and support from international organizations and neighboring countries. So today, several important sectors contribute to Bhutan's economy. First is hydropower, which is the country's largest sources of income. And then Bhutan export electricity, especially to India, and this helps generate government revenue and economic growth. Second is agriculture. Although the economy is modernizing, agriculture still plays an important role because many people in rural areas continue to depend on farming for their livelihood. And the third is tourism. Bhutan practices a high value, low volume tourism policy, which means the country limits the numbering of tourists in order to protect its environment and culture while still earning income from tourism activities. So, to understand Bhutan's economic performance, economists use economic indicators such as GDP, growth, inflation, trade, and unemployment rate, and trade balance. So these indicators help measure how well the economy is performing and how the country is developing over time. So next, let's look at the Bhutan's gross domestic product or GDP. So GDP measures the total value of goods and services produced within a country over a specific period of time. It is one of the most important economic indicators used to measure the size of performance of an economy. In 2023, Bhutan's GDP reached approximately USD 3.02 billion. Over the years, the country has experienced steady GDP growth as its economy continues to develop and modernize. So one of the main contributors to Bhutan's GDP is hydropower. The country has many rivers and strong river resources, allowing it to produce hydroelectricity efficiently. Bhutan exports a large amount of electricity to India, making hydropower the largest source of export earnings and government revenue. Besides hydropower, agriculture also contributes significantly to the economy. Many Bhutanese people still work in farming, especially in rural areas. Agriculture supports food production, employment, and local income. Tourism is another important sector. Bhutan attracts tourists who are interested in its beautiful landscapes, culture, and peaceful environment. So, tourism contributes to the service sector and creates job opportunities to local communities. However, despite its economic progress, Bhutan still faces several challenges. First, the country is heavily dependent on hydropower, which makes the economy vulnerable if there are problems related to climate, water supply, or electricity demand. And then second, Bhutan has a small domestic market because of its low population size, which limits business expansion and consumer demand. And lastly, the country has limited industrial development, meaning there are fewer manufacturing industries and economic activities compared to larger developing countries. So now let's discuss on Bhutan's economic growth. Economic growth refers to the increase in production of goods and services in country over time. It shows whether the economy is expanding or improving. In recent years, Bhutan's economy has grown at an average rate of around 4% to 5% annually. This steady growth reflects the country's efforts to improve development while maintaining environmental sustainability and social well-being. Several factors support Bhutan's economic growth. So first is the government has invested heavily in infrastructures such as roads, schools, hospitals, and communication system. So these developments help improve transportation, public services, and economic activities. So second, hydropower development projects continue to play an important role in boosting economic growth. Electricity exports to India generate income and create employment opportunities. And third, Bhutan receives foreign assistance and investment, especially from India, which supports development projects and strengthens economic cooperation between the two countries. So in addition, the expansions of tourism and service sectors has also contributed to economic growth. Uh, to economic growth. So tourism brings foreign income into country while the service sectors creates more business and job opportunities. Unlike many developing countries that focus on rapid industrialization industrializations, Bhutan emphasized sustainable and balanced growth. And the government aims to protect the environment, preserve culture values, and improve the quality of life of its people while developing the economy. However, Bhutan's economy was affected in 2020 due to global disruptions caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Tourism activities declined, trade slowed down, and economic growth weakened. Despite the challenge, the economy gradually recovered and economic activities resumed and tourism reopened. Next, let's look at unemployment in Bhutan. So Bhutan's unemployment rate remains relatively low at around 3% to 4%, which shows that most people are able to find some form of work. However, youth unemployment has become an increasingly important issue in recent years. Many young graduates face difficulties in finding suitable jobs after completing their studies. This happens because job opportunities in the country are still limited, especially in the private and industrial sectors. In addition, there is often a skills mismatch where the skills possessed by graduates do not match the needs of employers, and a lack of technique and vocational training also makes it harder for young people to compete in the job market. Besides unemployment, Bhutan also faces underemployment, particularly in rural agriculture areas. Some people may have jobs, but they do not earn enough income or are not fully using their skills and abilities. Many workers in rural communities depend on small-scale farming, which may provide only seasonal and limited income. Overall, Bhutan's economy continues to grow steadily while still maintaining the value of gross national happiness or economic performance, but also on the well-being of its people, environmental protection, and cultural preservation. In the future, Bhutan's progress will depend on its ability to diversify the economy, create more job opportunities, improve education and technical training, and continue promoting sustainable development. So that's all from me. I'll pass to Natalia Natasha.
Okay, my name is Natalia Natasha and I want to present about population analysis. Okay, let us look at Bhutan population analysis. Bhutan population continue to grow slowly around 0.65% annually. Improvement in healthcare, education and living standard have contributed to this gradual increase in population. A smaller population reduce pressure on housing, infrastructure, and natural resources. However, it can also limit the labor force and reduce domestic demand. Bhutan have a relatively young workforce, which give the country strong potential for future growth. However, this growth depends on the availability of enough job opportunity for young people entering the labor market. Next is inflation rate. Inflation rate refers to the continuous increase in price over which reduces purchasing power. In Bhutan, inflation is influenced by domestic spending, food prices, transportation costs, and imported goods, especially from India. In February 2026, Bhutan inflation rate was around 5.61%, slightly lower than the previous month. Although inflation has started to slow down, prices are still relatively high. Historically, Bhutan experienced its highest inflation rate of 30.53% uh, in, in, in 2012. Now let us discuss about government debt. Government debt refers to the money borrowed by the government to finance development project and budget deficits. Bhutan have a high level of government debt mainly because of external borrowing for hydropower project, road and energy infrastructure. By 2025, government debt is expected to reach around 108% of GDP. Although borrowing can support economic growth where invest properly, is excessive debt by create financial pressure and make repayment more difficult in the future. Next is a trade balance. Trade balance refers to the difference between export and import. Bhutan experienced a trade deficit because it import more goods than it export. Major import include machinery, fuel, food, and manufactured good, while export mainly consists of hydropower, electronic, mineral, and agriculture product. Recently, Bhutan trade deficit reached around 29.244 BTN million. However, hydropower export to India continue to provide an important source of national income. Now let us move to sectoral contribution. The service sector is the largest contributor to Bhutan economy, followed by industry and agriculture. The service sector contribute around 112.232 billion to GDP, when meanwhile agriculture contribute around 25.037 billion and construction contribute around 20.560 billion. Although Bhutan economy is becoming more service oriented, agriculture still play an important role in supporting rural community and employment. In conclusion, Bhutan is developing country with steady economic growth and young population and strong hydropower resources. However, the country still faces several challenges such as inflation, rising government debt, trade deficits, and limited job opportunity. To achieve sustainable economic growth, Bhutan need to improve infrastructure, diversify export, strengthen the private sector, and create more employment opportunity. Investment in education, healthcare, and skill development is also important to improve productivity and long-term economic stability. Overall, with proper policy and careful economy management, Bhutan has strong potential to build a more stable and sustainable economy in the future. Thank you. That's all from me.